Hello, my friends. Welcome to Being Humans. We're better together. My name is Ian Christopher Wendt. In this first set of episodes, we continue to explore the conflict between modern state corporate institutionalism and the relational and communitarian bonds that form an organic society. Our modern society has a community-sized hole in it. Once again, our society has a community-sized hole in it. If you're like most people, for your whole life you've been moving from institution to institution, developing an education and a career, picking a political party, supporting corporate professional sports teams, selecting which corporations and brands you'll consume and identify with to develop your personal aesthetic, and participating in debates between institutions about which one has the best programs and ideologies for running the economy and the state. From a young age, you left your family for most of your productive hours each day and submitted as an individual to the rules of daycare, public schools, colleges or universities, and corporate or government job. Each of these structures feels familiar. They're rules-based, bureaucratic, hierarchical, legal, formal, increasingly anonymous. And they don't really care what you think or how you feel, as long as you stay in your lane, follow the rules, and do what you're told. They tell you they're there to protect you, to educate you, to employ you, to pay you, and to take your money in return for cool stuff. Even in your private life, your actions, sense of identity, and self-expression are often mediated by corporations, by brands, by apps, by corporate developed and marketed technologies. Even as you socialize online, these corporations rule you through ironically named community guidelines, which they may tell you you've broken without ever telling you how or how to fix it. Then they'll suspend you and delete you. People use the word community in a lot of situations and contexts, but in my evaluation, they usually aren't referring to actual communities. Corporations try to convince you that their employees or customers are a community. That's a lie. Political groups refer to political identities as communities. That's a fractional truth at best. State institutions, particularly educational institutions, but also local governments, like to talk a lot about community. But a public school or university is a state institution run by authoritarian leaders. Let's discuss what a community is and isn't. A community is organically built on groups of human beings with relational bonds. It's usually a few dozen or a few hundred people, many of whom know each other and interact on a regular basis. It should reinforce relationships, not disrupt or replace them. Those relationships ought to include intergenerational connections. Communities have mutual purposes and shared values. They're often built on wisdom traditions. Community activities should foster natural forms of human resonance, like hospitality, sporting, competition, cooperation. Neighborhoods can be communities if we get out of our houses and share human experiences, like food and hospitality and local celebrations with our neighbors. A local sporting league is a community. A church, synagogue, temple, or mosque is a community. A volunteer organization is a community. Public schools used to be communities before the state and federal governments took control of all curriculum and policies. Smaller schools, like charter schools, often do much better as communities. Extended families, if they manage to keep in touch, form the core of strong communities. Wisdom traditions begin as communitarian practices and gradually become religious institutions. They can continue and operate as both communities and institutions. Communities are built on circles of relationships. Most people have similar circles of relations. At the center is an intimate circle of 3 to 7 people, intimate family and friends. The next circle is close friends and family, usually between 12 and 25 people. Beyond that, we have a circle of friends and extended family, somewhere between 30 and 70 people who we know well and interact with regularly. Then we have community members and meaningful contacts, usually somewhere between 100 and 250 people. These numbers vary depending on how extroverted you are or how hard you work at building and expanding relationships and communities. Some people prefer to focus on a small number of core relationships. There's nothing wrong with that. Beyond our circle of family and friends, we have acquaintances and contacts. You may have between 300 and 700 contacts and acquaintances. These relationships, family, friends, and meaningful contacts form the core of our intersecting communities. Communities are not exclusive. You don't belong to just one. You can have local communities, economic communities, social communities, religious and spiritual communities. You can belong to more than one. They can and they should overlap and intersect. Organic society is built from the bottom up. Institutions of the state and corporations are built from the top down. The first layer of an organic society is robust, healthy relationships with friends and family. The next layer is a variety of overlapping, intersecting communities: local sports leagues, clubs, volunteer organizations, service societies, religious organizations, etc. The next layer is institutions built and constituted by local individuals and groups, and they should be organized by and accountable to those constituents. The combination of all of these produces an organic society. Such societies were common a few hundred years ago. Unfortunately, the profound success of modern states and corporations has disrupted them. But I believe that communities and organic societies can be rebuilt and revitalized. There are a lot of institutions that talk about community that aren't. State institutions are not communities. A high school is run by public employees. The school is a well-oiled bureaucratic machine. Step out of line, skip class, argue back, and see what happens. Try to propose a significant change and see how far you get. State colleges and universities are even more institutional, bureaucratic, and rigid. Now you can form meaningful relationships and communities within these institutions. Clubs, leagues, sororities, fraternities. You can form communities and maintain them. But don't confuse the institution for a community. Otherwise, you'll be disappointed and you won't receive the benefits of meaningful shared interaction. Local governments, especially in large cities, have little claim to community. This has been demonstrated again and again when people tried to push back against political leaders' rules about public health, gender ideology, or educational policies. Corporations are not communities. A real community would care if 15% of their members were suddenly cut out and sent to the unemployment line. Corporations don't. They just move on and spout words like efficiency and agility. Smaller companies and family firms in particular can be communities if they're intentional about it. If you are a member of a company that provides a local service, like a plumber or a mechanic shop, or a local manufacturer that employs a lot of local members of the community and provides goods and services in that area, that can absolutely be a community if they're intentional about it. Next, identities are not automatically communities. We often use the word community to refer to identity, like, say, for example, the Black community, the gay community, the Latino community. I do not minimize the importance of people's shared backgrounds and experiences and identity groups. All I'm saying here is that being a member of an identity group is not the same as being a member of a community. If you want to have meaningful communal contacts, you need to make relationships and join communities. So a group of people who share the same background, who have similar experiences, who get together, who support each other, who serve together, who cooperate and compete together, can absolutely be a community. But the identity and the community are not the same thing. We must be intentional about forming, joining, and participating in communities. And please don't mistake politics for community. Finally, beware the commercialization of relationships and communities. Kids used to play spontaneously Kids used to naturally and spontaneously play together unsupervised in neighborhoods, but increasingly kids have very little unstructured time together. Instead, they're always supervised by state employees like teachers and public school coaches, or by people we pay to teach them dance, club sports, martial arts, or a range of other activities. Increasingly, these groups have become monetized and transactional. We pay the coach to train our kids so they can build a resume to get into a better college, and we behave accordingly. Instead of playing or developing skills or cooperating on a team or demonstrating sportsmanship, we are training our kids to pursue individual competitive success, often in increasing isolation from their friends and families. This is because the older they get and the more competitive and successful they become, the more time they need to spend in practices, rehearsals, and travel competitions. Their relationships dwindle and suffer. But at least they'll get into a competitive university where they can pick up $75,000 debt. That pattern may have purpose, but it does not foster community. I bet many of you don't really belong to an active or healthy community these days. They can be hard to find. But if you look around, you'll find that people recognize the hole in our society. People are trying to revitalize their local leagues, congregations, volunteer organizations, scouting organizations, neighborhoods, and civic institutions. You may think these communities are old-fashioned or tired. That's probably because you don't know the people there. But I promise you, they need more members, especially members that want to contribute and make a difference. Join a community that resonates with the kind of human experiences you love. Join a community that upholds your values and tries to push them into the world. Make a difference. Help revitalize and reform the community. Help bring it into the 21st century. Help redefine what community and the organic society can mean now. There's so much you can learn and so much you can contribute. Connect with your people. Join our community and contribute. Comment, share, like, subscribe. Amen, amen. This is the way of being humans together.